right. Thank you all for coming. It's good to see all the smiling faces. Hopefully everyone's a little excited about what we have coming. A lot of learning, a lot of tasting, a lot of new for some of you and a refresher for many. Housekeeping. You're tasting 14 wines tonight. We'll taste 19 wines Friday. We're all professionals. We understand how to do this, but talking about it up front. Make sure you're spitting, you have cups, you have buckets, you have food on the tables. We'll feed you afterwards for dinner. We'll take a break somewhere around an hour, hour and a half in, okay? Keep it interactive. Ask questions. You are confused about something, you don't know something, please don't leave here that way. Ask questions. That's what we want. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, I've got some things I'll show you in a minute, kind of talk about where French wine's been and where we see it going. And it kind of reminds me of the old is new again concept. You know, I see, corduroys came back after a while of being gone. Plaid shirts come back and, whatever. And I was thinking about, so I looked up some things. So who in here owns a Polaroid? Anybody? There's a decent amount of people in here with a Polaroid. Good God, man, my daughter, her boyfriend got her a Polaroid for Christmas. I'm like, I didn't even know they made them anymore. I mean, we used to take pictures of all our displays, had to bring in Polaroid pictures. We couldn't just do it on the phone and send it in, right? So that's interesting to see them back again. Record players, who owns a record player that was bought in the last 10 years? I mean, that's hysterical, turntable. And you're buying records again. Those things were gone, you couldn't find them forever, right? Pac-Man and Space Invader, I didn't realize that was back. Any of y'all play Pac-Man? Yeah? So yeah, it's hysterical. That one I missed. Go figure. I guess the point is, we're kind of seeing that trend with France, and there'll be a lot of reasons for that we'll go over here, but there's a lot coming that we need to be prepared for. So that's sort of what tonight speaks to. We as a company had a decent to pretty good French wine portfolio 15, 20 years ago. And through some trades and things that happened, we became almost non-existent in a big way. It was really small. And the great thing about that was it allowed us over time to really pick and choose producers we thought really delivered great quality at great prices from each region. And it's taken a long time. I mean, it was some I can't tell you how many bad French wines we've tasted over the years. But we've associated ourselves, aligned ourselves with some really cool, top-notch importers that are bringing some really neat stuff. Several of which are people that live in France that go and have these personal relationships with small wineries. So a lot of stories. And tonight and Friday is a lot about educating you all on France. What are the regions? What are the rules? What are the wines? What are they? Unfortunately, with 6 hours total, 5 to 6, whatever it ends up being, we can't tell every single story about every single winery that we'd love to tell. David's talking about, we take stories to the streets. No matter what we cover tonight and Friday, you need to engage your CBS team, you need to engage yourself, you need to figure out and find those stories that are out there. They're there, okay? Websites are great. Several of them, we've got some great resources to learn a lot. Do your homework and know the stories before you hit the streets, because our brands haven't. We'll share some of it, but there's a lot more we'll never get to. All right, before I start flipping, I'll tell you, I was reading the Wine Spectator this month, and they basically took each main varietal, and talked about how it's doing and a lot of the key wineries, and all this and that. So Sauvignon Blanc, and in it, the first couple lines, they mention the ancestral home of Sauvignon Blanc is Loire Valley, France. And then you read about Cabernet Sauvignon. Well, the home of being Bordeaux, France. And then you go to Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, and they're talking about Burgundy being the home of these great wines. I mean, it's everywhere you read. It's known that France controlled and owned and was the only place for top-notch quality in the world for all of those varietals we just named. Really, Germany was the only thing that can compete because they do Riesling better than anybody, okay? But France owned it, and we're gonna see that. First I'll say, why are we here? To learn, and that's got to be interactive. You've got to be open. You've got your iPads out. There's a lot of questions. Good God, if we have the iPads out, they're going to be playing, what was it, Pac-Man? You know, whatever. Use these tools, okay? France and the French wine industry, it's pretty amazing, okay? We'll go over some of that and the importance of French wines on our business and where the business has been, where's it going, where is it now, and where's it going. You guys can't see this, and I apologize for that, but I want to throw it anyway. This is Delmonico's. Anyone heard of Delmonico's? Famous steakhouse. 1914. So the point of this is 1943, the Copacabana. All right? So what is this doing? So now we're seeing American wines pop in, but we still have French. American champagnes, which we know is incorrect terminology, and French. But when we come down here to American wines, what's listed? Chablis, Claret, which is what you call a red Bordeaux, Muscatel, which we'll learn about tonight, Sauterne, Rhine wine, being a Riesling, and Chianti, so an Italian concept. But those are the California versions, okay? So then, of course, when we go to the imports, the biggest part, red and white Bordeaux, red and white Burgundy, Sherry had a good share. That's the list. So let's fast forward on to 1970, the MGM Grand. So these are pretty impressive places, right? What's a wine list? So we have a couple of domestic champagnes, if you will, sparklings. Rosé, Lancers, if anyone's ever seen the old crock bottle. But Burgundy, red. Burgundy, white, German. Italian starts to show up, a little Bolla, Suave. Rhone starts popping in as a big part. Bordeaux red, Bordeaux white, and domestic red and white, there were 5 of them. That's it. Robert Mondavi being one, by the way. Pinot Noir, which was interesting. All right? But you could still see this very heavy laden Burgundy and Bordeaux, Rhone, okay? Great part of the list. Why do I keep showing you what happened then? What's now? So what did France do wrong? Why did their business drop? Well, how often do you see a Bordeaux say Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot or Sauvignon Blanc? Okay? Burgundy's figured it out. They're starting to put Chardonnay and Pinot Noir on, but that hadn't been happening forever. You're starting to see it now. But the world, the new world, as we started to learn and get appreciation for wine and started to love those California wines, we learned the varietals. And France doesn't tell us a varietal a lot of times. They didn't, and that's changing. So it was a pretty quick transition to what's easy. I like my Chardonnay. I don't know what Burgundy is. So France is they're very proud of their wines. And they know that they do it better than anybody in the world. And it really hurt them a lot because they were stubborn, didn't want to change. So after a while, they're realizing their sales are really tanking. And all these new world areas around the world are taking off. And that's what people want. So you're starting to see it. And we'll see some of that today. And we'll talk about some of it today and Friday. But there are many reasons for why France dropped, but that's the largest one. That is a big portion of why they dropped off the map, is their inability to change with what the world wanted. Quality is still there, and that's what people want, so they'll be back. So, France's role in the global wine industry. Like I said, you could see from the previous slides, they were the world's wine leaders forever. Right, for many years. And they still produce those great wines. If you ask someone, what's the best wine in the world? A collector. Most of them are probably going to say a French wine. Be it one of the 5 first growths we learn, be it Petrus, which is probably the most expensive wine year in and year out in the world, from Pomerol, maybe a great Burgundy. I'm flipping through the same issue, and it's the Burgundy issue for Wine Spectator. $565, $795, $350. Chardonnays and Pinots, just unbelievable. The price is like not 1 or 2. They're all outrageously priced. That's because the demand around the world is much higher than the production. So just keep going up. all right? We're going to learn about the wine regions. That's the main reason you're here. Hierarchy of the wine designations and what they did to put that on the map around the world. Grape varieties, classification system, blah, 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 blah. So let's touch into a couple of these. So these are the regions. We're going to go in a big circle of France. We'll show you a map in a second. Excuse me, in a second. Southwest France, which we represent Cahors. Bordeaux, Loire Valley, Champagne, Alsace, Burgundy, and Beaujolais, Rhône, Provence, and Languedoc-Roussillon. Tonight we're going to get through Champagne, and we'll do the other 5 Friday. So here we are. Start down here. So make sure, we'll throw this up before every region so you can have a little refresher, but we're going to do a big circle is what we're going to do. All right? It's good to know and try to figure out those regions, and as we go through it, why each region is the way it is. Proximity, this is the Atlantic Ocean. All right? You know how the current goes down on our west coast from north to south, pulls that cold water down. So that whole west coast is very cool. Well, they're way far north. So this should be too cold, a lot of regions, to produce really good wine. But this current comes up and brings the warm water up from the southern Atlantic. And then you have the Mediterranean over here. So a lot of warm influence from the water instead, which really helps it produce some great wines. What are some of the white grapes? So you have this. You can look at it. Uni Blanc, that's what we make cognac out of for the most part. Melon de Bourgogne. You'll leave tonight knowing what Melon de Bourgogne is, I promise you that. All right, but this is sort of in progression from sort of a lightest to a heaviest style wine. Muscat that they use is really for fortified, so it's way down there at the bottom. But same thing with reds. You have this to refer to. We'll taste in some form or fashion every wine on that list between today and Friday. So we all know Napa Valley. We know Sonoma, you know, Barossa Valley in Australia. Whatever area of the world you think about, their regions, their designations, all right? This started in France. In France, we're the ones to start the appellation, it's called Appellation d'Origine Contrôlée. So Michael Venezia may be our, is anyone in here who speaks French? Who speaks French? Any females speak French? God darn it, gotta listen to Michael Venezia. That's okay. I'm just kidding. So, AOC is now AOP because they've joined the EU. So to make everything the same, AOP, you'll see sometimes AOP, AOC. It's in the midst of changing. But that's basically, this is half of French wine. That's basically the saying Bordeaux. So these red grapes that are allowed to be grown in Bordeaux came from Bordeaux. That's an appellation that's allowed. Any Cabernet growing somewhere out in the middle of France, it's not in one of those designated regions, would not be. That was going to be down here just table wine. You want to make wine, fine, but you're just table wine, and that's considered cheap. All right, and then you have in between Vin de Pays, which are large regional designations. We'll go over a lot of that stuff. So that's it there. You have all of this to look at. What creates it, though? So it's many different things, and it's done by region. All right, obviously it's the area. Grape varieties that are allowed to be grown under France law. So they basically said hundreds of years ago, well, you do Chardonnay really well in Burgundy. That's what you're going to grow. That's what we're going to make an AOC for that area. So if you go and grow Sauvignon Blanc in Burgundy, you might make a great wine, but it can't be called Burgundy. It would be table wine, okay? It's done by viticultural standards. So that may mean, you know, certain ways you have to grow the vines, certain times you have to pick, or no water a lot of times. You cannot irrigate in a lot of areas if you're going to be AOC. The yield, how much are you going to pull? That'll determine whether you're AOC or not, or what level of AOC. Production methods, bottling, how much you bottle can be a limit. Alcohol content is a biggie. Over there, they kind of pick based on alcohol content. So To be AOC, you have to have the grapes either so ripe but not too ripe. They have to fall into this range to be part of the AOC. You're very strictly governed, unlike California, and even tasting sometimes.